Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we go again. We have another major blow to the gaming industry happening right before our eyes. Carrie Patel, who was a longtime narrative designer and game director at Obsidian Entertainment, has officially announced her departure from the studio that she has been at for over a decade. This is the studio that was behind Avowed, the game that they all said they were going to support for years to come, and now she is jumping ship. One of the most anticipated RPGs of the decade that ended up just completely falling flat on its face in the dust of all controversy and failure. Even more shocking is that she's headed to Netflix Games. Yes, Netflix Games, the platform that nobody uses, nobody trusts for anything gaming related, or even remembered existed until the headline ran of her leaving Obsidian Entertainment. Today, we're diving deep into the fall of Avowed, what Carrie departure means for Obsidian, and how this is just another chapter in the continued suffering of the gaming industry in 2025. So get ready, this one's going to be a good one.
The source of the blight eludes us still. Just be careful. The Empire doesn't have many friends on these shores. And the Emperor would never forgive you.
Special shout out to all of you 88,500 legends out there that are subscribed to this channel, and the slightly over 50% of you that are not subscribed. Consider hitting that subscribe button today. I would greatly appreciate it. So who's Carrie Patel? You know, Carrie Patel wasn't just another developer. I mean, she was in fact one of Obsidian's key narrative architects. If you liked the emotional depth of Pillars of Eternity, you would most likely have her to thank for that, even if it's slightly. Her pen sharpened some of the more intricate story arcs in modern RPGs, especially when it comes to Obsidian. But after years of being at Obsidian, she was promoted to director of Avowed, a game that was supposed to be the studio's spiritual successor to Skyrim, which was powered by Game Pass and Xbox Studios. And now she's gone. She left. Quietly, professionally, mind you, but still quietly. Make no mistake, this is a major red flag for everyone watching the gaming industry right now. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, when it was first announced that this game was going to be on Game Pass day one, everybody was scratching their heads. Everybody kind of already knew that this was probably not going to be a good sign for Avowed, because quite frankly, whenever a game like this goes on Game Pass, people are going to choose to play it there. That doesn't mean that the game is going to get any sales, because people are going to be renting the game instead of actually buying the game. Avowed is one of those video games that many people decided not to want to take home. Even though there is a bunch of good video games out there that have succeeded past a Game Pass, this was not one of them. Avowed 100% went to go die on Game Pass service. But when Avowed was first teased, fans, believe it or not, were actually hyped. It was a pretty big, or it was supposed to be a big fantasy world, which had deep lore rooted in the Pillars of Eternity universe, and was the first-person RPG combat which was akin to Skyrim. But made by legends behind Fallout New Vegas, what could possibly go wrong? Well, everything apparently. The game launched to mediocre reviews. Critics described it as uninspired, shallow, and rushed. Fans were equally harsh. Complaints flooded forums. Lifeless combat, bland environments, in a sense that Avowed was trying to be something that it just wasn't ready to be. The Steam numbers were disastrous. On launch week, the game could barely break 10,000 concurrent players, compared to Baldur's Gate 3 pulling in over 800,000, or even Oblivion Remastered holding steady at over 100,000 on sale week. But even with the power of Game Pass behind it, Avowed just simply couldn't find an audience. It came and it went, and most players barely noticed. Now, me personally, I played Avowed. I played it to completion. This game had some of the most boring dialogue I've ever experienced in an RPG video game. The combat system was unbelievably simplistic. I went through the entire video game using the same 3 skills for the entirety of the game once I had unlocked them early in the game. There was literally nothing else that I did different other than use maybe a healing item here and there. It was so plain. It was what I would call baby's first RPG, and I am not surprised that the game flopped. I almost pretty much expected the game to flop, even besides all the controversy. Taking all the controversy out of the actual game, the game itself, when standing on its own merit, was a boring baby's first RPG that had great exploration in the game, but that's literally it. That's the only thing I had fun with in the game, which was the exploration and looking for every nook and cranny throughout the map. Aside from that, the game was extremely boring, extremely simple, and extremely unsatisfying, and it deserves to be on Game Pass. Just let it be the most rented game out there. Who cares? So let's talk about Game Pass, right? It's the golden goose for Xbox, the place where, you know, your average games can go and just thrive just being accessible on Game Pass. Well, that's becoming a myth, because overall, Avowed's failure proves that Game Pass, or being on Game Pass, just isn't enough. players might download the game, but that doesn't mean they'll play it, or that doesn't mean they'll buy it, or worse, it doesn't mean they'll enjoy it. Game Pass has become a digital landfill of half-baked games, forgotten projects, and corporate quota fillers. Avowed was supposed to rise above that, but instead it became the poster child for Game Pass filler content. And now the part that raised everyone's eyebrows: Carrie Patel is headed to Netflix Games. Yes, Netflix, known for streaming shows and not crafting engaging AAA RPGs. Netflix Games has been a joke since day one. No one talks about it, no one uses it, and no one trusts it to deliver real gaming experiences. It's mobile-centric, experimental, and barely part of the mainstream conversation at all. So going from Obsidian, an established, respected RPG studio, to Netflix is like going from the big leagues to coaching a little league team that nobody watches. So why did she leave? Creative freedom? Burnout? Or is the ship sinking and she's one of the first rats jumping off the ship? Obsidian is in trouble. Let's not sugarcoat it. Avowed was their chance to prove that they could lead the Xbox RPG charge along Bethesda. Instead, they delivered a flop, one that likely cost tens of millions of dollars, and now their creative leads are walking out the door. Internally, morale has to be low. You don't just lose your director after a game launch and bounce back. You lose direction, momentum, and possibly even more staff. Rumors are already swirling about pending layoffs. Microsoft has already axed entire teams in 2024 and 2025. Redfall Studio, gone. Hi-Fi Rush's team, gone. What's stopping them from trimming down Obsidian Entertainment? Nothing. So let's zoom out a little bit though and take a look at the overall situation that's happening right now in the gaming industry in 2025, because let's be honest here with ourselves in this video, it's been pretty brutal. The gaming industry has been absolutely rammed through for the entirety of 2024, and 2025 has been no different. Studios are shuttering and closing down. Games are flopping left and right. Layoffs are happening monthly. Even massive titles like Doom: The Dark Ages and Assassin's Creed Shadows are struggling to make waves. Price tags are going up, quality is going down, and gamers are losing trust. Meanwhile, executives double down on live service garbage, AI content, and monetization schemes that nobody asked for. While indie titles like Expedition 33 and Oblivion Remaster outperform big budget flops, the message is very clear: we're not getting what we're paying for. Obsidian isn't the only one that's hurting, but they might be next on the chopping block. The sad truth of the matter is that people are making decisions known as time goes on more than ever. Gamers are out here making the decision to buy XYZ game that's going to give them the best value because money gets tighter as the prices keep going up. Sure, you're going to have CEOs that are going to say you're not a real fan unless you spend full price on their video game. Good luck with that. You're going to have shills out there that are going to claim the games are amazing, there's nothing wrong with them, and you're just a chud hater who's rage bait farming. And meanwhile, most of them don't even buy their games. They get gifted from the actual studios and they get free review copies. There's just how it goes. But at the end of the day, the gaming industry has been suffering throughout the last 2 years. And sure, the shills, the journalists, and everybody in between can sit here and try to pretend like this is not happening. But every time they say it's not happening, there's a new headline that comes out that proves that it is. This is the same exact thing. There is no reason this woman would want to leave her company that she's been with for over a decade, Obsidian Entertainment, for a established studio, a studio that, yes, I understand they released Avowed and nobody liked it, but they still were the ones behind New Vegas and people respected them for it. You are deciding to leave Xbox to go work for Netflix Games. That is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard in my life. And unless Netflix Games was giving you an insane amount of money, which, let it be known, they probably are, I just don't see any other reason why you would want to leave Xbox and everything that comes with that to go work for Netflix Games, which nobody knows and barely anybody utilizes. It is a weird move, and it seems like it's a move that comes out of necessity and doesn't come out of something that she wants to do creatively. I think it's a move that she had to do. It's a move that ultimately seems like someone who is about to get fired. Maybe being the director over at Obsidian Entertainment, perhaps she knew of certain things that were coming her way in the actual company. Perhaps that after everything that happened with Avowed, she probably realized that, wow, you know, the door's about to be closed shut here. Let me start looking for a new job and see what I can do. Ultimately, whatever the decision may be, Carrie Patel made a very strange one, and I'm sure it's going to pay off for her financially, but from the resume standpoint and from a career standpoint, I just question the move. So what comes next? I mean, Carrie Patel's exit to Netflix Games is a symptom, not a disease, right? The disease is the industry that's bloated with investor expectations, crushed under the weight of its own hype, and increasingly disconnected from the players. Obsidian might survive this, they might even bounce back, but they've lost a key leader, they lost consumer trust, and they lost the war for RPG supremacy in 2025. So the question remains, how many more studios have to fall before the industry learns that gamers want good games and not live service garbage not $70, $80 unfinished products, not AI written dialogue, just passion, polish, and playability. Expedition 33 is a prime example of what you should be aiming for as a studio, and yet it seems like a bunch of studios are allergic to giving the gamer exactly that kind of experience. And then here you have Sandfall Interactive, a brand new studio made from developers that used to work at Ubisoft. They were extremely bored working over there because they were creatively stifled. They decided to make their own studio, and they ended up creating an absolute banger of a video game that everybody and their mother, regardless of being on Game Pass, decided to purchase and take home. Whereas you have games like this, like Avowed, that had the same exact scenario, except they came out from an established studio that everybody already knew, so the hype was already there. All of a sudden, it just falls flat on its face and nobody wants to buy it, and people are trying to say, well, it's on Game Pass, and that's why. Well, Expedition 33 is also on Game Pass. Keep in mind, the most hilarious thing about all of this is that Avowed was a full-priced video game, and yet here comes Expedition 33 with all intents and purposes that offers more content than Avowed does, and it was offered at a $20 less price point. Avowed was released at $69.99. Expedition 33 was released at $50. Actually, to be technical, it was released at $45 because it was put on sale for $5 off for the first week of its life. So it just seems very odd to me that people continue to want to use Game Pass as an excuse for why these games fail. You know, there was even a headline going around that Avowed had hit 4 or 5, whatever it was, million players engaged, and yet the game is a massive flop. Everybody knows that the game lost money because players engaged is a lying metric that is used to push failure video games into the spotlight to make it seem like they are doing better than they actually are. Everybody knows if a company has to market their video game with players engaged and it's a video game that costs you $70 and it's not free to play, that game is a flop, and they're trying to convince you otherwise. So again, the question, I reiterate, is how many studios have to fall before the industry learns that gamers want good games? Not live service garbage, not $70 to $80 unfinished crap, not AI written dialogue, just passion, polish, and playability. I gotta imagine it's probably gonna take them a very long time, considering that they continue to push the same nonsense and they're doubling and tripling down. We have seen multiple releases that are going to be coming out over the next few months that are proving, actually even the next few years, that are proving that's exactly that. You got Sony wanted to come out with Marathon and Fair games. They got 2 live service garbage slop games that they're coming out with and expecting everybody to just want to go buy up instantaneously. It's ridiculous. So Obsidian Entertainment needs to sit down and focus and really figure out what they're going to do. I really don't know if there's going to be more layoffs at this point, but I got to imagine that there's going to be. Microsoft recently announced that they're going to be firing 7,000 people, which roughly equates to about 3% of their workforce. 7,000 people. It's absolutely insane. A spokesperson said that we continue to implement organizational changes necessary to best position the company for success in a dynamic marketplace. Again, this is a massive amount of people, and we don't know if this is coming from the gaming sector, but according to the articles, it seems like it's coming from all over the place within the company. So again, I ask you, what is Obsidian Entertainment going to do? You had 4 to 5 million players engaged for Avowed. Congratulations. Your sales were clearly not there because the game was considered a failure and your game director has jumped ship. If she was getting paid properly, or if she really thought that there was going to be something for her in the future there, she wouldn't have left. This is someone who clearly has shown dedication. She has worked there for many, many, many years. She's not just going to up and leave for no reason. There is something behind this decision. We may not know it, but she knows it, and she's never going to tell us, obviously. But the truth is, there is something there as to the reason why she left. So you guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Was Carrie Patel's move a sign of internal failure over at Obsidian Entertainment? Did you even play Avowed? You can let me know in the comments. And what do you think about the overall future of Obsidian? Do you think there's going to be layoffs? Do you think the company's going to shut down? Let me know. Drop a comment, like the video, and subscribe if you want more gaming news like this. Thank you guys so much, and special shout out to the Bigot Army members for hitting that join button. I greatly appreciate it. And if you are not a member yet, consider hitting that join button and join the Bigot Army. I would greatly appreciate it. So special shout out to all you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.